Hello and welcome to Hello Yellow. This is a program about inspiring people to find their own golden element through storytelling of businesses and business ideas, individuals and brands. We're here today to try and ensure that you are motivated to do what you've been thinking about doing for quite some time. And today we have a special guest, James Peterson from Remedy Grounds Health and Wellness Spa. Please welcome to the show.
Thanks, Vivian.
Tell us a little bit about Remedy Grounds. I mean, it's a gym like no other.
Well, I try not to call it a gym because the byproduct is a gym. That's just an incidental of what I wanted to put together. But what I've got is I've put the science behind training, getting people back to health. And some of the modalities that I've got there, like the ice baths, the infrared saunas, flotation tanks, all those things are geared up to get people back to health, bringing inflammation down. But when the body's inflamed, it's riddled with disease. Of course, with, I don't like to use the word diet, but just better eating habits. Of course, we have the odd occasion that we let loose, but it's more about bringing all the science to the mainstream. As far as, like you've got all the athletes have multi-million-dollar centres where they can get themselves in top shape. So basically what I've done is I've condensed it and brought it to the mainstream.
And I have seen some of those athletes in the ice spa.
You're one of them. You're one of them.
I'm no athlete, but I have seen some football players and basketballers taking full advantage of it. So it's such a great idea, and I think one of the things that drew me to your health and wellness spa was very much about doing things differently. And surely there were reasons why you wanted to be different to the everyday non-gym gym.
Well, it was motivated by the passing of Dad, who had a motor neuron issue, and the science now has shown that through meditation, through bringing inflammation down, changing your mindset, people have been curing themselves of MS, cancer, and there's too much of it to ignore it. People have changed their lives around. And that was the main reason I set the place up, is to help people with motor neuron cancer patients, and that's coming soon now in the next stage of the membership. But I also wanted to bring, as I said before, the science to the mainstream. For people who are stressed out, they've got a busy life, they come on, they jump on one of those amazing machines, a Socky bed, which designed...
Tell us about the Socky bed.
The Socky bed was developed by a Japanese guy. It's infrared, but it's a dome, you sit in it, and it's got an oscillating plate that moves your feet back and forth. That's designed to get the lymphatic system. That's where all the toxins get caught up, increase blood flow production. Because when the blood stagnates, disease sets in. And basically, within Chinese called qi, that's energy flow. That's the energy flowing. So what that machine does is basically get the blood moving. And that's how you bring inflammation down. It gets, if you've got to say an injury in the shoulder, that's why dry needling and acupuncture works, because it creates micro trauma, and then stem cells go to it to repair it, and the blood starts to flow. So this does pretty much the same thing. So that's designed to bring inflammation down. A lot of the footy players use it, and a lot of athletes use it because they feel the benefits, and I think you've used it many times yourself. So, so the Socky bed's really designed to help calm you down, bring cortisol down, which is the number one thing. Cortisol, stress. We need cortisol to wake us up in the morning, but excess cortisol can be catastrophic to the whole body. So the whole centre is about bringing inflammation down, coming there to relax, do your training, and go.
Because you've also got an altitude room and
high altitude, yes.
and a PEMF machine as well, don't you?
So the high altitude is designed for athletes who want to go to the next level. The room is pumped in with hydrogen that mixes with the air. and then it thins out the air. So it mimics high altitude, like being at Himalayan mountains or base camp or wherever you would need to be. Again, that increases oxygen in the blood. It increases people's lung capacity. So if you're an athlete who wants to get that next level, you can use it. But there's also an anti-aging effect, which not many people know about.
Sign me up.
Oh yeah. It's just come out recently, but it's all starting to come out, and all the benefits of the altitude room. But the main reason that people use it is to get that next cardiovascular, edge on their training.
And so for the anti-aging properties to work, how long should I stay in there?
Let's camp it up in there for the whole night. Look, the 10 to 15 minutes is max. You don't want to go for much more than that. But science have shown that it increases part of your DNA, it increases the telomeres, so they actually shrink as we age. I haven't really gone in too much into the anti-aging aspect of it all, but the latest has been that it can have an anti-aging effect. And a lot of people actually notice when they leave, their skin feels a bit more
taut.
Yeah. So
mine's just red.
Fine. But yeah, the main reason for that room is to increase your cardiovascular system. The other thing they use it for too is to use it just before a workout. So if they do a warm up in the altitude room, that increases red blood cells production. And when they go pump the weights, they get more blood flowing through, and their energy levels are a bit higher. So if they're stuck on a certain weight, they usually go up by about 10 or 20%. They're the sort of biohacks which people use to just get that little edge on things.
Yeah, and it's not widely known. Tell me about this PEMF machine. What does it stand for?
Okay, so it's it's a magnetic therapy. So what it basically does, it charges up the cells. We're like a battery, and as we get older, and we go out, have a few drinks, have a bit of balance things out a bit. But basically, what it does, it charges up your cells, and when your cells are not running properly, they stick together. And when you jump on this machine, it separates the cells so that they can actually go through the capillaries, because the cells can only go through the capillaries one at a time. But when they're clunked up together, they don't pass through. So again, it alkalizes the body and it charges up your batteries. And people have had an amazing effects from it. Depending where you're at with your body, it can either make you feel, it'll either pep you up or put you into a very deep sleep. Depending, it'll sort of balance things out for you. It's a hybrid version, so basically it's got infrared as well on the bottom, and the infrared brings inflammation down, combined with the coils, which are magnetic. It's been around for years. NASA have used it. I've done a lot of research on it. So if NASA uses it, they've done some pretty good studies.
And I think the other appeal is that as a creative person, it gives your mind a chance to really rest and reflect.
Yes. There's another part of the thing which is sound therapy, and there's also light therapy. The light therapy is just basically strobes, and it just synchronizes the brain, and it takes you into the different states of meditation. So alpha, delta, and theta state, and depending on how long you stay on it, it takes you through those states when you go to sleep through the night. And you can usually get that effect within 10 or 15 minutes. So a lot of people jump off it, and then 10 minutes later they feel like they've had a good night's sleep. I think you've noticed that yourself with that.
Yeah, I've experienced that. Yeah, I think there's also a lot of properties that we probably can't identify that it does so much good for your body, for your brain, just to rest and relax.
Absolutely.
And the stimulating light, you know, it's pretty incredible. So, like, obviously Remedy Grounds is just a wonderful benchmark for you, but have you been in the health and wellness
I have.
your whole life?
Yes, I had a few gyms in my day. My very first one was in Paran. It was called Colts. I targeted the gay market at the time, and I had a few gay friends, and it was around that time when, it wasn't as accepted, and I wanted to create a haven for my friends that were gay, you know, and it took off. So it was a bit of a melting pot at the time. Had a DJ every Thursday night. My club was known the Dome by Day, if anybody can remember the Dome.
I do remember the Dome by Day, yes, I do.
So that was the, but yeah, it was you know, we had all the gay community there, and they felt comfortable to be themselves. And they also brought their straight friends that were okay with it.
So it was a nice community.
Yeah.
It was all inclusive.
Yeah, yeah.
So talk me through, I mean, obviously as a business owner, do you think people are born with this entrepreneurial gene, or, you know, obviously not everybody can just get up and you know, open their own business, but there are a lot of people that actually want to make the change. What are some of the things that you've learnt along the way that you could help inspire others?
My very first business, I didn't have any money. I don't know. All I can remember was thinking, I want to set up a gym. There's something better than this. My dad had just passed away, and I felt like I needed to do something with my life. And I remember reading a book called Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway.
I read that one too, yes.
And I was sitting on the couch, and I'm thinking, oh, come on, something better than this. So all I can remember was sitting outside this building in Peran in Cato Street, and visualised that gym and how I wanted it to be. And I remember getting a loan. Those days you'd get a loan for a car, and they'd just give you the money over the counter. They wouldn't say, oh, so I said, I'm buying a car. So I got $15,000 for the car, for a car, supposedly. And then I ended up using that $15,000 to buy a couple of pieces of equipment, set up the gym in Peran, and I remember being terrified, but you've just got to do it. And otherwise, well, I mean, what's the worst case? You fail. And unfortunately, a lot of people let their fear get in the way. I mean, I set up Remedy during COVID, and I wasn't sure whether the place was going to open up, but I took a punt. I thought, we can't go on forever. We can't be locked up forever. And I was sort of hoping that things would, and it did. I took a punt and it worked. So fear is one thing. Fear.
And how do you quieten the fear?
Look, I was motivated by that book, and I practiced a lot of visualization techniques. And I used to, I read a book by Dr. Wayne Dwyer, Manifest Your Destiny, and it resonated with me. And it was interesting because that book that I read was on a Wednesday night, and I'm reading it and I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm going to meet this guy one day. Anyway, a friend of mine rings me and says, James, what are you doing? I'd just broken off with my girlfriend at the time. It was a bit sad. My friend says, why don't you come up to Sydney? I said, oh, he says, come up, I've got this thing I've got to go to. And I said, I'll come up. And I drove up, got there, and I was exhausted. And then my friend, look, well, you go to sleep. I'm going to go to this seminar in the city, and if you wake up, give me a call. So, I don't know, somebody was tapping on the window, woke me up. And I said, where are you? He says, oh, I'm at this convention centre in Sydney. I said, oh, what is it? He says, oh, it's got all these speakers, Deepak Chopra, It's got Louise Hay, Doreen Virtue, and Dr. Wayne Dwyer. I jumped out of my seat. I said, are you serious? I just read his book 2 days ago. And I said, I felt like I was going to meet this guy. Next thing you know, I'm at the front, right at the front. I happened to be sitting next to his wife.
Oh my goodness.
And next thing you know, I met Dr. Wayne Dwyer. And that was like, for me, a sign to do something.
Absolutely. So do you believe in signs when you're looking to,
yes,
you know, achieve your goals?
Absolutely. Like today I found I've always find 5-cent pieces, but today I found a $5 note coming to see you. So I'll see that as that I'm on the right path, because there's nothing worse than going to a job you hate.
Agree. 100%.
Nothing worse. And if you're young enough, or at any age, but when you're younger, if you're stuck in a job that you hate, just take a chance and do something that you really want to do. If you fail, you can just go back to to wherever you were.
Speaking of failure, have you had any real obstacles, and how did you overcome them?
One of the first thing was when I opened up Remedy, it was difficult to get an FMOS machine. It would take 2 months to order, because back in the day you'd order one and you'd get it the next day. So I had all these people coming into the gym and I couldn't charge them any money, you know. And
good for them.
Well, it's, and I thought, I've got to start paying rent. I've got to get some, get the FMOS machine going. But I thought, it's okay. Just when you get it, you'll sign everybody up. And people are asking me, when are you going to take our money? I said, relax. When I get the FMOS machine, we'll get it happening. Relax, But I just went with the flow. And sometimes there are things you just can't control. So go with the flow. So I'm going to do that with my new yoga studio, which I just set up. I'm going to go with the flow. Things didn't work out exactly how I wanted them with the opening, but I'm going to go with the flow.
Go with the vinyasa flow.
That's exactly. Obstacles.
Personally, professionally?
I think some people, when you open up something new, that they try you out. And you've just got to not take it personally. People saying, oh, there's so many gyms around, there's this, there's that, this negative talk, But I have a tendency to sort of overlook that.
Which is a real gift, actually.
Yeah.
I think taking the emotion out in business is a real talent and a real skill.
Yeah.
I think you can only do that as you get older, where you don't, because you do have to learn and be open to feedback, but then understand whether or not it's your stuff or their stuff they're projecting onto you, and what's going to actually prevent you from moving forward.
That's right. And believe it or not, the people that do that, and I just continue to be kind to them, they're the ones that end up becoming your best client. They're the ones who promote it. So it's easy to, but I think once you're in line with what you're doing, things just flow. It's only when you're not congruent with what you're doing, obstacles come up. That's what I found. And
do you feel like that's more signposting to pivot you into other areas?
Yeah, so as far as having obstacles, they're small things like the FMOS machine, but when you're congruent with what you're doing, things flow, things happen, appear. It's happened with the first gym that I did, and I started that with $15,000
for the car loan. Yeah.
For the car loan.
Don't worry, we won't tell them.
And it was, it just happens. It's only when you're not 100% into something that you're doing, I think things start to happen.
Is that if you're not being truthful to yourself?
Yeah, I remember starting up a cafe thinking I was going to be a great cafe owner. I failed miserably at it. It was just not what I really wanted to do. Because the main thing for me was to make money. But with the two centres, it was more of, I want to do something that I enjoy. And when you do things that you enjoy, the byproducts become success. You become successful at it. It's happened to me twice now, 3 times actually, with things that I wanted to do. And every time I've done things that I don't really want to do,
it doesn't really work out.
It doesn't work out.
It's really interesting.
If I've got to say anything, just if you've got something you're super passionate about, don't worry about the money, just focus on what you're doing, and the byproduct will be
there for you.
That's right.
So if people want to come down and meet you, where should they head to?
We are opposite the South Melbourne Market. It's a bit of a hidden place. I haven't done any advertising. I've kept it in stealth mode, as you've seen. It's 186 York Street, number 3/186, and it's down a driveway, just opposite South Melbourne Market. You'll find it.
If you're meant to go.
If you're meant to go, you'll find it.
Great. Well, thank you so much for joining us, James. I'm sure the listeners and watchers at home have at least picked up at least one piece of advice that they're going to take home. I certainly have. So it's been a pleasure having you on the show, and we'll catch you all next time.
Thanks, Vivian.
have with me Dr Samantha Smith. She is the founder of Pinnacle Communications and also an author. Welcome, Samantha, to the program. Really great to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
So tell us, obviously I've known you for quite some time. You wear many, many hats, but your latest one I'm most excited about is the publishing of Harriet's Hungry Worms.
Thank you. Yes, Harriet's Hungry Worms is my new kids book.
Wonderful.
It's coming out in May, and it's very different to what I do in my day job. It's been a labour of love for probably about 4 years, and I'm really, really excited that finally got there.
So tell me, it was 4 years in the making, is that correct? So what inspired you to actually start writing about it, and what is it actually about?
Yeah, sure. Well, so basically it's a kids book, obviously, and it is about a little girl called Harriet, and each day she goes outside and she feeds her compost worms, and one day they leave her a big surprise, and it's a companion for eco-warriors and curious composters to get them on their eco journey. So it's targeted at ages 3 to 6, and hopefully it gets a lot of sustainability messages in there, along with worm facts and composting facts in a fun and engaging way. So that's what the book's about. And in terms of what inspired me, my kids were learning a lot about it in primary school, and they didn't really have a resource of fun, kind of engaging bedtime storybook to go with what they were learning. So that's what inspired me, and we sat down. We were on Magnetic Island of all places, probably about 4 years ago, and we just decided to write it all together, and we wrote the first draft back then, which probably took a couple of hours, and then took about 3 years of refining after that to get it right. So I wrote it with my kids, the initial draft, which probably doesn't resemble anything as to what it looks like now, but they were there at the start, and they were really the motivator for me along the way to keep going, because they were really keen to see it turn into a real published book. And that's what kept me going. It's
amazing. So I know that you're a massive environmental champion. So tell me, what are some of the challenges that you think the world is facing at the moment with the environment, and the reasons why, you've got this really strong message to get out there, particularly in, the younger generation?
Yeah, well, look, I think one of the key important things is setting really positive environmental behaviours from an early age, and getting our kids motivated to do that, and making sure that they know why it's important to do that. So that's why I was really passionate about developing the book with the environmental message in it for kids, so that they start really learning those messages early on, and they also bring it into the home, and then parents hopefully get inspired as well. And I think they're our champions of the future, and so that's why I've started really young.
And what are some of the key messages for someone like me that hasn't been brought up in being environmentally aware, other than turn your lights off, pick up the rubbish at the beach, make sure that you minimise plastics? What are some of the key messages that you're trying to deliver to these kids?
So I think it's just that they can all do their bit, and even if it comes down to just putting your leftover fruit scraps in the compost bin when you come home from school, you're all doing your bit towards us getting a more healthier planet.
And why is it more healthy if you do that?
Well, that's a really good question.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's better than putting it in landfill, but then we're getting a bit serious if I start going down those messages. But I think just starting, giving them steps that they can do at home and that they feel empowered by, I think is really important. And I've noticed it with my kids, that when they feel that they're involved and they're making a real difference, it's inspiring and it's empowering for them. And I think if we're going to be getting positive change in society, let's not forget our little people and how important they are.
Next week, Sam gives us great tips for aspiring authors, and Graham DeGoldie explains his massage and myotherapy business.